Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me. My name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is Coach's Corner. I'm here with Donna Serdula, and I do hope I get that name right because my best effort is to get names right because I connect with people all the time, all over the world. But this is Donna's story. She is a storyteller, but in a very, very special way. And we're going to find out what that's all about right now. Donna, let's get into the conversation, please. This started when and what was going on in your life? You were in corporate
Hey,
and you were getting chaotic. What's going
yeah.
on?
Hey, Keith. It's nice
Hey,
to talk to you. Yeah, it started in 2009. So
okay. You were sales,
actually,
right?
it started even before that. You know,
Okay.
um, goodness gracious, 2006 and seven. No, it was ages and ages ago.
You were in some type of sales and things. Sales are dog eat dog. At least that was the term.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I first ran into LinkedIn in 2004, 2005.
Mhm.
And at that point, I was in corporate America and I was working with developing customer relationship management tools and doing that type of thing. Um, and that's when I joined LinkedIn, and I saw it for quite a for I saw the potential even then, to be able to have this network, to have your information out there that you can control, that's always getting populated. That to me was very, very interesting. But it was in 2000 and goodness gracious, 2007, I changed positions, and I did get into that dog eat dog. Dialing for dollars,
What
80
were
cold
you
calls
doing?
before noon. I was a reseller
Okay.
selling Autodesk software to architects and engineers in the Philadelphia area.
Cool. My hometown.
Yeah.
So things were tough. And I think you mentioned to me on the pre-call that you were selling software that other people were selling. So you were a reseller.
I was a reseller.
You were a
So
reseller.
my competitors, and there were a few competitors, they were selling the exact same software
Hmm.
as I was selling. And that's hard. At first it's hard because you're like, well, how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate when the software is exactly the same? Why would a person switch? Why would they buy from me versus someone else when everything is basically the same? And it took me a while to realize that the real differentiator was the salesperson themselves, right? It was, who do you really want to buy from? And is this person adding value? And how are they adding value? And how do they know you? And how do they know your industry? And can they make that difference?
Hmm.
Because it's more than just the software at that point. Um, but it was during that period that, as I was cold calling, I kept finding the profiles kept popping up, because I was Googling who I was calling. I wanted to know who they were. I wanted to learn more about them. And so often the profiles were just, dull, dry, out of date, just as they are today. Nothing has really changed. No one wants to sit down and really, create a robust profile on themselves.
So you
Uh,
were finding them on LinkedIn.
I was finding a lot of, well, I had a database of
Okay.
prospects, but I was cross-referencing it on LinkedIn. I was like
Okay.
just doing a Google search. When you do a name search, just back then is the same as now. When you do a name search, what pops up for most, business people, for most professionals, it's their LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. Yeah. At
And,
least on the top of the list. Yeah. If they're
yeah,
anywhere else. But
yeah,
you were finding
yeah.
resumes.
Finding resumes, finding dull, dry, out of date, poorly populated profiles. And I remember thinking, like, here's this chance for a person to really like get me feeling excited about them. And it wasn't happening. But that was the moment that I also had my own epiphany, was like, wait, what am I doing? And I was doing exactly the same thing as everyone else. And it just seemed like this huge missed opportunity, right? Like,
Hmm.
here you can control how others perceive you. Here's how you can really set the stage. Here's how you can, really lift yourself in other people's eyes. And
Well, yeah, because it's the story that gets you
okay,
to the story that causes you to tell
okay.
stories.
All right. Okay. I'm just hoping I'm not
So,
being boring.
because what you just said was you saw this as an opportunity
Yeah.
and you jumped on it. And that's what entrepreneurs do. They see
Yes.
opportunities, they see pain points, and they turn them into opportunities. So this is where that backstory
Mhm.
becomes, aha, I can
Okay.
do something here.
Yeah.
And you went and did it. What did you do?
So, I recognize that here's this opportunity that so many people are not in any way capitalizing on, and I wanted to help. I realized that people needed help. They needed help to tell their stories because it's hard to write about yourself.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is this amazing platform, and it's one that you really shouldn't ignore. You shouldn't ignore. And it will make a difference, and it did make a difference. And so it was in 2009 that I got the LinkedIn makeover domain name and decided this is what we're going to do. I'm going to write LinkedIn profiles for people. I'm going to help them understand who they are, what makes them tick, what their story is, and I'm going to help them put forth an image that is impressive. It builds confidence. It provides that credibility, and it converts. It gets people to want to work with you. And in my mind, it's funny because at first I thought I was going to be working with salespeople. I thought I would be working with small business owners, and then I do. But the vast majority of people who jumped and said, "This, thank God you're here. I've been struggling with this, and I need your help." It was executives. It was high
Mm.
level professionals. It was leaders. They were the ones. But if you think about it, they themselves, I think, innately understand the power of personal branding. And so it almost makes sense why they were the first ones to really jump on it.
So what I'm hearing is you were kind of the first in a new space because it was just this platform originally just for sharing resumes and getting jobs. And you're thinking, wow, this could be so much
Yeah,
more.
this is a reputation engine. Yeah, it's not a resume. It's a
But
reputation engine.
but people didn't see it that way. So how did you and the people in your space recognize the true value of what this was? What was that epiphany?
I think a lot of people did know, wait, I'm not on LinkedIn to find a job. And wait, why would we put the resume up there? It contains super sensitive information that we don't want everybody and their brother to see.
Okay.
Right. I think when you talk to people and you open them up to that, it does make perfect sense. And so it wasn't something that I was fighting, but it was almost something that it just needed to be something that it was education. That was really what was needed more so than anything.
When you started connecting with C-suite leaders, executive leaders, to
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I can empower you by changing your story," how did they start? How did they receive you? Because you said that was kind of where your focus was.
Well, here's the thing, Keith. In all of this, I simply decided I'm going to blog, I'm going to write, I'm going to get up on a stages wherever they will have me, and I'm going to talk about the power of LinkedIn, the power of branding. And people came to me,
Okay.
and people still come. My phone still rings. It's one of those situations where I wasn't fighting like this this ocean wave that's coming at me, but rather I felt like I was surfing on the wave because there's a lot of people who recognize that they need help. They're at this crossroads, and where do they want their career to go?
Mhm.
Who do they want to become? They might feel pigeonholed. They might feel stuck. They may feel that there's still so much left to them, left for their future, for their career, but they need help. It's something that you just can't do on your own. It doesn't matter how many books you read. When it comes to yourself, you sit so close that you can't
You
get
can't
focused.
detached. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
detach from yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do
So
you provide that mirror image so that they can see that new self?
mhm.
Because you create something new. How do you
Yeah,
mirror that?
I don't know if we would necessarily. I don't want to say that we're creating something new. I truly
Okay.
believe the core of the individual is there,
Okay.
and what we're providing is something that's very authentic and very genuine. But when they do it themselves, they never push far enough. And so we're able to dive in, and we're able to pull out the stories that are already there. It's just they have never articulated them.
They know them. They've lived it.
They know it, they live it. And I find that with a lot of people, Keith, that, as soon as they start to dance on the fringes of that uncomfortable unknown,
Yeah.
they retreat very quickly. Right? Like they start to think about these things. Where do I want to go? What is my real passion? What truly fulfills me? What is the vision that I have for myself? What do I love? What do I hate? What makes me me? What do I stand for? Like, these are really hard questions for a lot of people. Like, it's easy to say it,
Mhm.
but like, to answer those questions, you do start to dance in that area of discomfort and awkwardness. And so for a lot of people, they pull away and they don't allow themselves to stay there. But when they work with us, it's a very protected environment where we are asking them to come out of that shell and to talk about these things. And we're doing it in a very safe type of way, that when they do come out of the process, they have been in that area of discomfort, and suddenly it becomes comfortable. They've actually leveled up through it, and they feel much more, I am at that higher level, and I do know what I offer, and I do see what I bring to the table, and I recognize my true value. And so at that point, it's very easy. I also find that, opportunity doesn't hit because people aren't ready for it. But once they go through the process with us, they are ready for it. They have everything that they need.
Well, then the question begs, how long does the process take for the average executive to say, no, I'm not ready to beautiful transformation?
Mhm.
Is there a
Doesn't
time limit?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, for us, when we're doing a very standard, we're working on understanding them, their strategy, assessing their career. From there, it's then, looking at the resume and creating that trajectory that isn't just an obituary, but it's really truly aligned to where they want to go. It's future forward. It's aligned to that next thing. And then taking that LinkedIn profile and telling a story that's warm, it's inviting, it's high level. It's not a copy and paste of the resume, but it's really almost a professional manifesto. And then, at that point, we're talking it's a month and a half. It's not long. It doesn't take that long to do.
You just said a word that I don't think people in my audience are familiar with. Professional manifesto. No, I'm familiar with it because I've had those conversations before.
Mhm.
Can you clarify what that is, please?
For me, that the professional manifesto is someone who has really they've sat down and they've truly been intentional and deliberate with who they are, why they do what they do, what it means, and it's they have a vision of where they're going and why they're doing it.
Hmm.
And if you take all of that and you put it into, a narrative that traces, this is where I've come from, this is where I'm going, and this is why it matters and why it makes a difference, then you've got that manifesto. And it's no longer just a dry bio. It's no longer just the professional summary of a resume, but it should, when a person reads it, they should be moved. They should feel like, oh wow, this is someone who, they're not just doing it to do it. They're not just doing the stuff for a paycheck, but they've got a mission and they've got a passion and they get it. And they're moving very deliberately to their goals.
So can we talk about that? So what is the end result of your work with people? I'm about to say client, but what is your
Mhm.
work with people who embrace your ideology, embrace your methodology? How do they transform and what do they transform into?
Yeah. You know, in some ways it's actualization, right? It's where they really should have been the entire time. It's getting to that point of hey, I feel really comfortable finally, and I'm where I need to be, and I'm excited, and I'm happy, and I'm fulfilled. And I wake up on a Monday morning and I'm excited to do what I'm supposed to do. That is a beautiful thing. Typically, what that means in the bigger picture is, oftentimes more opportunities cross their path. They feel empowered and they make those decisions. Hey, maybe it is time to change and pivot in their career. Oftentimes, it means huge salary changes. Um, it's not unusual to see a person doubling their salary. It's getting where they should have been to begin with, and getting paid for what they truly are doing.
How can people find you? Where are you in the world? Where are you in cyber world? How can people find you?
Yeah, people can find us on LinkedIn. So
Of
you just
course.
put my name in there. My website is linkedin-makeover.com.
Okay. One final word for those who are watching, listening to our conversation. What's the first step to overcoming that? I don't want to say fear, but you use that uncomfortableness of making change, knowing that it's got to happen, but overcoming that uncomfortableness.
Yeah, I think sometimes for most people, you have to find a partner. You really do. It's there's a time when you have to say, look, I'm going to make this investment. I'm going to find a partner who's going to hold my hand and help me do this. Because when, for most people, when faced with something that is scary and uncomfortable, they just so naturally retreat. It's almost just instinctual
Mm.
that if you find that you're doing that and you're not making any progress, and you sit down to do these things, and you clean out your your, your closet, or you go lift weights, you do anything but, then it's time that you have to say to yourself, I can't do it myself. And if I do want to move forward, and if I do want what I know I where I should be, and I want to be happy, and I want to be fulfilled, and I want to have that mission, and I want to be, moving steadfast towards this vision and the goals that I have, find that help.
I love it. That was a perfect way to end this conversation. Donna, thank you for joining me on Coach's Corner. For those of you who are watching and listening, I'll see you next time. Take care.